Hello everybody and welcome to our last success session number 4, Pitch Like a Pro. So as usual, before we start, I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping. For your information, this session is going to be recorded and I will share the recording with you after the session so you can watch it in your own time and also share it with your team members if they could not attend the session today. Your video and audio are muted and blocked, so if you need to speak to us, you can use the chat box. Write any questions or comments or anything you would like to share in the chat box and we will address it at the end of the session. Same with questions. We have time to answer questions at the end, so just make sure you write them in the chat box and we will answer them either in the chat box or we'll talk about them at the end of the session today. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Sandra and I'm the project manager for the Creative Spark Big Idea Challenge. I've been following this project for the past 3 years. This is my 3rd year and I'm very excited to see the amazing ideas that it will bring to the competition this year. So let's talk about the competition. A quick timeline overview to give you an idea at where we are in the process of the competition this year. We are just about to finish the success sessions that we prepared for this year. And after today, you will have 5 weeks to prepare and submit your idea. So that's when you will prepare your application with your team, record your pitch, and submit everything before the deadline on the 7th of May. Reminder again, make sure you're aware of this. Deadline to submit your idea is the 7th of May, and we will not be able to consider your idea if you submit after the 7th of May, midnight, London time. Make sure you're aware and submit before the deadline. Right, without further ado, I'm going to pass the floor to my colleague Simon Boot, who is the head of Accelerator at London Metropolitan University, and he will talk about pitching.
Hi, everybody. As Sandra mentioned, I am the head of Accelerator, which is London Met University's startup incubator. We are a home for businesses, and we've got a lot of experience in this topic of pitching, so helping people explain an opportunity. So this session is on how to pitch like a pro. And so what we're going to cover in this session includes recapping what makes a great entry in the Big Idea Challenge, and then we're going to dive into more detail on how to pitch like a pro. We're going to look at the content of a great pitch, the structure that you should use, the delivery of that pitch, and finally how to film it. We'll wrap the session up by spending a bit more time looking at what the judges will be looking for when evaluating your ideas and your pitch videos. And lastly, we'll take any questions. So what makes a great entry in this competition? And those of you that were at the last success session will remember this slide. So the 3 components of a great entry are a novel idea, a well-written entry form, and a great pitch. So the first 2 aspects of this, a novel idea or an interesting idea and a well-written entry, were covered in success sessions 1, 2, and 3. And so today the focus is on the 3rd part of that, and that's how to deliver a great pitch. This is, after all, a pitching competition, and you need to be able to deliver a great pitch to have a chance of being one of our finalists and maybe even a winner. So firstly, what is pitching? I mean, pitching, when we talk about pitching, we really just mean talking about an idea, but it's a little bit more than talking, because when we're pitching something, we're actually trying to persuade them or convince someone of an opportunity. So it's normally used in a context of business, getting someone to buy or accept something. So the purpose of your pitch is to be persuasive about why it is a great idea. So why is this important? So firstly, the first reason pitching is important is because the more you start doing this and the more you start talking about your idea and learning how to pitch it, it comes out of your head and you can start distilling it and improving it. So the more you talk out loud about your idea, the better you get at explaining it. Also, once it's out, then other people can engage with it and they can actually offer advice or suggestions on how to improve it. The second point is that one day, if you want to act on your idea, you actually need to find your first customer or raise investment or form a team. And this skill of pitching is essential to be able to do that, to explain your idea, why it's a great opportunity and why people should invest in you or support you. Once it's out, people can engage with it. I spoke about that already. And lastly, the reason this is important is because this is a pitching competition. And if you want to do well in it, you need to be able to pitch. And so, we're obviously going to be selecting our finalists and the winners based on the strength of the idea and the pitch. And so you need to be able to do this really well. Also, those of you that looked at the information pack will know that we use a very short 60-second format for the pitch. And the 60-second pitch, it's plenty of time to talk about an idea and why it's attractive, but you need to know exactly what you're doing when you have that little time available to you. But don't worry, we're going to be covering all of that in this session. And so you've only got 60 seconds, as I mentioned. And the question is, does that make it easier or harder? Well, in one sense, it's easier because you don't have to talk for very long. And if you needed to do sort of an 8-minute pitch, there's a lot of content you would need to pull together. But on the other hand, you've only got 60 seconds. And so it's a very, very short amount of time to convey a completely new concept to someone and then convince them or persuade them that it's an opportunity. And so it is a little bit harder in that sense. And so, as I said, you need to know exactly how to approach it. When you've only got that, 60 seconds, every sentence that you use in your pitch, every word you use must be contributing to building the case for why your idea is persuasive. So the 3 key elements of a winning pitch: content, delivery, and recording. We're going to unpack those a little bit more now. So firstly, we're going to focus on pitch content. So what needs to go into your pitch for it to have a great chance of winning this competition? So what to cover, and we've covered a lot of this already in other parts, in the other success sessions. And so if you're joining us for the first time in this session, or you're watching this success session, as this success session is the first one you're watching, on the left side of the screen here are the things that you absolutely must cover in your pitch. What's the problem? What's your solution to that problem? Who is your customer and what's its market? Income generation. So how is your idea going to make money? Differentiation. So why is your idea different or better than alternatives already in the market? Looking at team, passion and action very quickly. And lastly, coming up with a slogan to close your pitch out. Now, for the social and the climate categories, they have one additional aspect, and that's the impact. So what's the positive impact that you want your idea to have? And that needs to be included in a pitch for ideas in those categories. Now, the great news is that simply by preparing your responses for the entry form, you've done the hard work with your pitch, because the things that need to go into your pitch are exactly the same as the things that go into the entry form: your idea or the problem you're solving. Customer, solution, income generation, differentiators, team, passion and action. So by preparing your entry, you're effectively preparing your pitch at the same time, or the raw material for your pitch. So going into each of those areas in a little bit more detail. And again, we have covered the following areas in more detail in success session number 2 and number 3. So if you want to have more of an understanding of these areas, please go back and watch those videos. But looking at the problem, successful businesses solve problems for people. And so we really need to understand from your pitch the problem that you're solving. If you can't explain the problem to us in a way that we quickly understand, your pitch is going to have a very hard time of being persuasive and also being successful in this competition. So when you're looking at the problem, in addition to understanding what the problem is, we need to understand how big the problem is. How many people does it affect? And also how important or how painful is this problem? What's the impact of it? So instead of just telling us what the problem is, tell us how the problem impacts people. So there are 3 really effective ways to explain a problem or to help people understand a problem. They are to use a statistic to understand the size of the problem or the impact, to tell a story, or to describe a situation. And I'm not going to go into these in more detail now, but I will later in this session. Secondly, once we understand the problem, we need to understand your solution. So how do you solve this problem? So a few tips here when talking about your solution in the pitch. Rather than talking about our idea, give it a name. Start talking about your idea like it exists already. So come up with a brand name or a trading name for your business. The second dot point is that it's really important that we understand what your solution is. Now, this is a mistake that people commonly make, is that they don't explain their solution in a way that's immediately clear. And so people are sort of scratching their head thinking, well, I understand the problem, but I don't quite get the solution. So it's really important that your solution is simple and clear. The third point on the list here, it must address the problem. So make sure that your solution maps onto the problem. You know, if the problem you've described is that something is too expensive, then our solution must make it more affordable. You know, if the problem is more expensive, our solution can't be that it comes in a range of different colors. So make sure that the solution marries up to the problem. The fourth dot point there assumes zero knowledge. And so you might have intimate and very detailed knowledge of the problem that you're trying to solve. The judging panel may be encountering your problem for the first time and your solution. And so pretend like you're explaining your solution to a child. Also, when we're talking about the solution in our pitch, keep it simple and concise. Talk about what the solution does. Don't go down the rabbit hole into talking about features or functionality. That will come at a later stage. Once we've looked at problem and solution, we want to understand the customer and the market. So who is your customer going to be? So who's experiencing this problem, or who are going to be the people that are helped by your idea? And lastly, how big is this market? So how many of these people are there? How much is being spent on this problem or on similar products or services? How many units are being sold? If we're in the business of toothbrushes, how many toothbrushes are being sold in our area or being purchased by our customers in any year? Can we find any figures that show growth in this industry, or any other trends that show the way that it's changing, that are favourable for our idea? Income generation. So all ideas need to have money coming from somewhere. Businesses will need to generate income because that's the reason they exist. For ideas in the climate or the social category, well, then the money, in order to have the impact they want to have, there must be income coming from somewhere. And so we want you to understand and include in your pitch a sentence on how your business or your venture is going to generate income. Some examples on the screens here, which are probably more relevant for businesses. So transactions or selling something, subscription revenue, so where you charge people, it's like a membership fee or a recurring income for access to something. Renting or leasing something, so people pay an amount of money to access a good or a service. Or lastly, sort of franchising or licensing. So again, people pay an amount of money in order to use something created by others. How are you different? And so this is where we want you to understand, to show us that you understand your potential competitors or substitutes for your product or service, but to also know what makes your idea or your solution different or better than things already on the market. So are you doing something maybe more affordably, or doing it faster or quicker, or you have a feature which customers value? So again, have an awareness of how you're different or better. There's no point in pitching an idea, which is what we call a Me Too product. So a product or service which is identical to something already in the market. So impact, this is the area we've been talking about, which is relevant for ideas in the social impact category or in the climate change category. And we're interested here in impact. And so what is the positive impact that your idea is going to have on people or the environment? And so be really specific here. How is it going to help improve the current situation for these people or the climate. Passion, skills, and progress. So this is a pretty big area. So this relates to your team. We want to know who's involved and what the source of your passion for this idea is. So starting a business or starting a social project, it's hard. And again, the big idea challenge is not just for ideas, but it's for ideas that people want to do something with. And so what we want you to focus on here is to talk briefly about your passion for bringing this idea to market. Secondly, when doing that, you can mention any specific skills you have which are relevant to the product or service that you're looking to develop. And lastly, you might consider mentioning a sentence on any progress that you've made to date. And we're really focused on progress and why that's important in the last success session, number 3. So I'd encourage you to go back and look at that. Now we're at the part where we need to finish our pitch. And now it's really important that when you finish your pitch, you finish on a high and we know that you're actually done. And a slogan is a great way to do this. And so you may not know what a slogan is, and I'm going to show you some examples shortly, which will illustrate that for you. But a slogan is sort of a catchy phrase which reinforces what idea is about, what our idea is about, and why it's important. Before we move into some examples or some more tips, if you have props, so for example, you've already made a sample of your product, you've made some mock-ups, you have a prototype or some sketches or something like that, feel free to include those in your pitch video. And so we can get a sense for what you've done already, and that'll be a great way of showing us some of the progress that you've made. So now I'm going to give you some top tips on how to deliver. Now we've covered off on content. Now we're going to focus on how to deliver, take that content and deliver an amazing pitch. So the 4 things I want to touch on here are: what order should we cover things for the pitch? Tip number 2 is to start with the problem, and I'll explain why that's so important. Number 3 is no wasted words, and number 4 is slow and clear delivery. So the order of the pitch. So look, I mean, ultimately it's your pitch and it's your decision on the order in which you address the topics that we've been speaking about. But we've been running pitching competitions for many, many years, and we've got a really good understanding of what works. And so we would strongly suggest that you follow a structure similar to the following. Number 1 is to start with the problem. And again, I'll unpack these in a little bit more detail in a moment. Number 2 is, once you've explained the problem, is to go into the solution. Those 2 things go really naturally together. Once we understand the problem and solution, show us how big this opportunity is by talking about the customer and the market. Once you've addressed those first 3, which fit very nicely together, you've then got to talk about things like income generation or revenue, the team, so team, passion, progress. And those 3 things, there's less, I guess, importance for them to follow in any particular order. It's what's going to make sense in the context of your pitch. And lastly, wrapping it up. But I would say those first 3, problem, solution, and market, have a very logical flow to them, and I would encourage you to address them in that order. So why do we say to start with the problem? Well, the main reason is that if we don't understand the problem, then by the time you come to the solution, if we don't understand the problem that you're solving, if there's no problem, there's no need for the solution. So it's absolutely critical that we understand the problem, and starting the pitch with the problem gives the rest of the pitch structure and makes it much more compelling. So how can we get people to understand the problem we're solving? Well, there are 3 really widely used approaches to doing this. The first one is to use a statistic which illustrates the problem. The second one is to tell a story. And the third one is to describe a situation. And I'm going to give you 3 examples of these now. So the first example here is of a team in a pitch using a statistic. Now, the first question to ask yourself is, is the statistic that we're using compelling? Does it really reinforce the problem that we're trying to solve? So I'm going to show you this pitch by a team whose idea was called Before You Eat.
We're dealing with an epidemic. 60% of England is overweight, 1/4 obese. That's 13 million people.
Okay, so I'm not going to give you the whole pitch. I just want to focus on how they set their problem out. So I've pasted what they said here on the screen. We're dealing with an epidemic. 60% of England is overweight and 1/4 is obese. That's 13 million people. So you can see there, they've used really strong language. They use that word epidemic, which is a really powerful word to use. And they've also said that 60% of England is overweight and 1/4 obese. That's 13 million people. So we've got a massive number that we can immediately help us understand how big and how painful this problem is. So the second way that you can try and convey a problem is to tell a story. And stories can be incredibly powerful. Humans have been telling stories to each other for millions of years. And so this is a great way to help make an emotional connection with your audience, especially if the story you're telling comes from your personal experience or personal connection to a problem. Now, just remember though, this is a 60-second pitch. And so whatever story you have, it can't go for very long because otherwise your entire pitch is going to be story. So I want to show you a pitch now, an entrant from last year's competition, which is Mohammed from Kekalove. Now, I'll play the video and then I'll explain why I played it.
Hello, my name is Mohammed, and at my startup Kekalove, we're helping people overcome the challenges our disabilities create. Kekalove is an adaptive fashion brand that designs and sells clothing for persons with disabilities. It has the potential to serve over 1 billion persons with disabilities worldwide. The adaptive fashion market is...
Okay, I'm going to stop that there. And the reason I'm going to do that is because you'll notice that this is about telling a story, but you'll notice that what Mohammed did is he actually just went into talking about what he does. And it's like, we're an adaptive fashion company, but that basically helps people, disabled people with clothing. And so instead of telling us his story, he went straight into telling us what he does. And actually, if you do that, then we're kind of there and we don't understand why that's important. So the reason I showed you this video is because Mohammed, he was selected as one of the finalists for this competition. And so when he came along to the startup weekend that we held virtually, one of the things that came out over the course of that weekend was actually the reason he was starting this business was because his grandmother was disabled. And he had personally experienced the frustration and the challenges that she faced dealing with finding clothing that would work for a woman in her condition. And so once he received this feedback, he changed his pitch and he instead started with a story about his childhood and his first-hand experience of the pain and frustration experienced by his grandmother and this issue, and it completely transformed the pitch. And ultimately, he went on to become the overall winner of the entire competition. So think about if you can draw upon a story which shows personal experience or personal connection to this problem, it can be very effective. Lastly, I'm going to talk about describing a situation. So can you describe a situation to help your audience imagine the problem or the pain that you're trying to solve? Now, the question you need to ask yourself is that consider the audience that you're presenting this video to, and will they be able to relate to the situation that you are describing? The pitch we're looking at here is one called The Hot Seat.
It's a cold night and you're at your son's football game. After the first quarter, you realize these bleachers are so cold, my butt is numb. I have the perfect solution.
Okay, so his accent may be hard to understand for some of you. So I've got the wording on the screen here. So he describes this situation. It's a cold night and you're at your son's football game. After the first quarter, you realize that these bleachers or seats are so cold, my butt is numb. So everybody can imagine the pain of sitting outside on a wooden seat on a freezing cold evening and having a cold bottom. So a really great way to help immediately understand the problem that his product addresses. So I now want to go through some examples, not just looking at the way they set their pitch up with a problem, but to look at the whole pitch. And I've chosen 2 or 3 60-second pitches here for us to unpack in a little bit more detail. So the first one we're going to start with, we're going to go back to the hot seat and watch it in its entirety.
It's a cold night and you're at your son's football game. After the first quarter, you realize these bleachers are so cold, my butt is numb. I have the perfect solution, the hot seat. The hot seat is a cushioned stadium seat with a heated base and back. Now, there are cushioned stadium seats available that aren't heated, and heated stadium pads that don't offer back support. The hot seat combines these two elements, providing a portable, cushioned, heated stadium seat with a USB port to charge your mobile device. According to WorldStadiums.com, there are over 73 million outdoor stadium seats in America alone. I'll use the internet, my personal NFL connections, and amateur booster club organizations to sell 2,000 units by year 3, resulting in $120,000 in sales. I need $19K for development, manufacturing, and marketing. Investors can expect a 3x return by year 3. Don't let frost bite your buns. Get the hot seat.
Okay, that was the pitch for the hot seat. And the most incredible thing about that pitch was that it was only 45 seconds long. It's not, and you guys have 60 seconds. So you can even be even more persuasive and compelling than Aaron was. So firstly, we've looked at the problem. So he used a great situation to describe a problem that helped us to immediately understand where he's coming from. The solution. So once he's told us about the problem, he goes straight into the solution. I have the perfect solution, the hot seat. The hot seat is a cushioned stadium seat with a heated base and back. So again, the problem was cold, his solution is heated, so it perfectly matches onto the problem. He then talks about sort of the fact that there's other products on the market that his is different than, because it provides more functionality and more features. He looks at the size of the market and says there are over 73 million outdoor stadium seats in America alone, which is a great use of a stat. Now, the one thing I would say about this pitch, I mean, it's not a perfect pitch. He speaks quite quickly. Maybe that's because he was trying to fit so much information in 45 seconds. The second thing I would note is that he does talk quite a bit about finances. Now, I want to be really clear. We're not expecting that from entries in this competition. You don't need to talk about finances in detail. You don't need to talk about how much money you need to start the business, nor the kind of return that an investor could receive. So all we want you to focus on from a financial perspective is how you're going to make money. And lastly, he's got an amazing slogan to close with. Don't let frost bite your buns. And for anybody whose second language is English, buns is kind of a friendly term for bottom. So the second pitch we're going to look at is a pitch called The Flourish, which is an idea that came out of London Met University's pitching competition a couple of years ago. So I'm going to play that pitch for you now. This is a 60-second pitch.
Art therapy is an invaluable tool for helping vulnerable women heal from trauma, but often the incredible works of art these women create never make it past the art therapy classroom. Until now, The Flourish works with women in existing art therapy programs. Their artwork is used to create patterns for fabrics and products. By selling these designs through websites like Spoonflower and to fashion, homeware, and other brands, an income is generated. Part goes back to the women and part it benefits the art therapy organizations. Through this public celebration of their artwork, women who often feel invisible are able to build their confidence, find their voice, and break through the stigmas that follow them. Consumers more than ever are looking for products that do good. Last year, the UK spent £83 billion on ethical products and services, and a similar organization that creates products from the artwork of those with disabilities has been in business for over 10 years. I'm Manda. I'm a designer with a background in marketing and a passion for empowering women, and this is The Flourished, helping women heal their past and build a better future.
Okay, so unpacking Manda's pitch for The Flourished. So she starts with the problem. Art therapy is an invaluable tool for helping vulnerable women heal from trauma, but often the incredible works of art these women create never make it past the art therapy classroom. So we understand the problem there. So these women create these works, but they don't have a platform for displaying them. The Flourished works with women in existing art therapy programs. Their artwork is used to create patterns for fabrics and products. Then she addresses income. So by selling these designs through websites like Spoonflower and to fashion, homeware and other brands, an income is generated. Part goes back to the women and part benefits the art therapy organizations. And so again, we're talking about how the money is made, and she also starts to indicate the impact that it's going to have on the women. She then addresses that in more detail. Through this public celebration of their artwork, women who often feel invisible are able to build their confidence, find their voice, and break through the stigmas that follow them. She then addresses the market. She's got a great stat here. Consumers more than ever are looking for products that do good. And last year, the UK spent £83 billion on ethical products and services. She touches on competition, where she says, and a similar organisation that creates products from the artwork of those with disabilities has been in business for over 10 years. And so rather than talking about competition and identifying her differentiator or what makes her different or better, she's instead using that to show that, you know, this business model can work and to make the idea more persuasive. Then she addresses team and passion. I'm Manda. I'm a designer with a background in marketing and a passion for empowering women, and this is The Flourished. And then her slogan to finish the pitch. So she finishes on a high, and we know that she's done. Helping women heal their past and build a better future. Okay, I think I have one final pitch that I want to show you, which is, again, another pitch out of our pitching competition, and someone who invested quite a bit in making their pitch really engaging.
Freely the Banana Girl is a raw vegan who tells people they can survive off just 50 bananas a day. That's it. She's amassed over 1 million YouTube subscribers, and it's misinformation like this that can lead to widespread eating disorders, whilst fad dieting from the likes of the paleo community is preparing a generation for heart disease. So with 8 out of 10 young people turning to social media to solve their health problems, how can we redirect their attention towards an authority they can trust? My solution? Healthbusters. Peer-reviewed viral health videos. It's the go-to resource on YouTube for exploring health topics and busting open diet fads, delivered with content in the same style as the diet gurus use. I'll curate and present the content alongside a strong video editing and content marketing team, and through the university's connections with research institutes, we get the seal of approval from the scientific community. Health and wellness is one of the fastest growing categories on YouTube. Our initial target audience will be health fanatics in their early 20s and millennials. Revenue will come from AdSense, affiliate marketing, brand sponsorship, and Patreon. But the main focus will be on low price information products and premium e-courses. Nutritional misinformation is spreading like wildfire. With a resource like Healthbusters, we have a chance of putting that fire out.
Okay, so without playing Healthbusters again, I'm not going to unpack that pitch in detail, but you can see Matt, he had a great opening, including the visual gag of dropping 50 bananas on the ground. You know, using a storyboard, gave his pitch real structure, and he went through and he addressed really clearly income generation, the market opportunity, his personal experience and that kind of thing. So I guess the one big takeaway from all these pitches is how much you can say in 60 seconds. So going back to what we were going to cover in this workshop, looking at the pitch delivery. So we're really clear on what order for the pitch. And so, you know, the middle of the pitch is probably up to you, but we strongly suggest you start by talking about the problem, introduce your solution, and talk about the market before going into the other elements. Dot points 3 and 4, I'm going to address these really quickly before I pass back to Sandra, who's going to show you or talk to you about filming your pitch. So a couple of final tips. The first one is don't feel overwhelmed by, you know, trying to work out where to start with writing your pitch. The good news is that you've already done the hard work, or you will have done the hard work by preparing your written entry or application for the competition. Now, 2 bits of advice I would give you here are to take each of the sections of the pitch, problem, solution, market, differentiator, etc., and create one card or piece of paper for each. And then just start by writing 1 or 2 sentences for each card that are going to be that are compelling or include a useful stat. And then, you know, start from there. So you basically got a rough draft by having each of those cards and a couple of sentences for each. Then talk through them, see how long they take, and work out whether you can add more content in or whether you maybe need to take some out. And then get a sense for how persuasive it is. So, you know, look at going to the second point here where I say no wasted words. When you've only got 60 seconds, every sentence needs to be saying something new and persuasive. And so once you've got that draft, look at each sentence and ask your question, is it adding value? Is it introducing a new piece of data or information that aligns to one of the 7 areas that I need to address in my pitch? The final tip I'm going to give you, and I've tried my hardest to do this today, is slow and clear delivery. If in doubt, speak more slowly. You know, one of the issues that you can encounter is if the judges can't understand your pitch. And so take your time, speak slowly, deliver your words really clearly, and record your pitch in as many takes as you need to get it right. So on that note, I'm going to pass you back to Sandra, who's going to talk to you more about pitch filming.
Great. So we should be very clear now on the pitch content and the delivery. So let's talk about filming your pitch now. You might do this for the first time, so you're not sure how to do a proper filming session. And we will now walk you through some recommendations on how to film the most professional pitch possible, even at home. You don't need anything fancy. If you follow these tips, you will manage to film something that is very well put together, very professional, just from the comfort of your bedroom. So, again, these are just some recommendations that we would like to share to help you film in a professional manner. So follow our guidance and do your best, try your best, but also be aware that the filming quality will not affect the way your pitch will be judged. But we will look at this in more detail in just a few minutes. So recording the video, first of all, try and use a good quality camera if you can. If you have a DSLR camera or your smartphone, your tablet, any good quality camera you might get access to, try and use that. And when you use it, make sure you use the back camera of your phone. So if you have, for example, an iPhone, use this side of the iPhone filming and not the front, just because the back camera has a better quality. Also, before you start filming, give it a little wipe. Clean it so that the lens is clean and we will have a very clear video. Otherwise, it might be a little bit smudged and not quite clear. For the background, If you manage, try and find a space in your home or wherever you film where the background is white. If you cannot do this, it's not a problem, but it would be great to have that. If you need to zoom in a little bit because you're too far away from the camera, do that, and just make sure you are very well centered in the frame of your video. Also, avoid using a green screen or a virtual background for this pitch, please. Just try and keep the background natural as you have it. Keep your filming device steady. So if you're using a phone or a tablet or a camera, put it on a pile of books or a shelf or a box, anything you can find that is at the right height and that keeps your camera steady. Holding it by hand very steady is difficult. You will always move a little bit, so it's best to just put it somewhere and it's very steady, and you can just press record and start recording in a very steady manner. Also, use your, if you're recording with your phone or your tablet, use it in a landscape mode. This means in the wide section, so you will be filming like this and not in vertical. Right, when you're filming, try and take a test video and see where you are positioned in the frame. So you see how I'm moving left to right in my video now. When you film your pitch, try and be in the center of your video, not too close that it cuts off part of your face, not too high and not too low. Just take a test video and try and see where you are positioned in the frame of the video and try and be really nice and central. That's very professional. If you're cut off at the top, it doesn't look as good. Right, when you're ready to record your pitch and you hit record, wait 5 seconds before you start speaking. If you remember, this makes the editing easier for us. If you make a mistake while you are delivering your pitch, don't worry about it. Either stop, take a little breath in and breath out and start again, or start the whole recording again, as you prefer, but no panic. Right, try and be in a quiet room when you are recording your pitch and get in the zone. So get used to speaking to the camera directly. Speak slowly and clearly, as Simon mentioned before. It's very important that the judges can hear what you're saying and understand it. So really make sure that you're not speaking too quickly and mumble, because nobody will understand. So really make sure that you speak nicely and slowly and everyone will understand the clear words. Maintain eye contact with the camera. Don't read from your notes because it will look like this. So it would be great if you don't need to read your notes and try and memorize the pitch and really deliver it while looking at the camera. Think about your body language. So you want to have a good presence in the video and not be sitting slouching, but just be nice and straight and present and powerful in your video. And also show us some excitement about your idea. We want you to be happy about presenting and that to show us that you're excited about your idea and to pitch for this competition. And try and keep it natural. Don't be like a robot when you're speaking. Try and be smooth and comfortable and natural and excited. Okay, a couple of tips on lighting. If you are recording at home, the best way to record your pitch is facing a window. So this is kind of the wrong position for me here, but you would sit facing a window and have the camera in front of you so that the light shines on you. If you don't have a window, that's not a problem. You can recreate this same lighting with an artificial light. So you can use your desk light just pointing towards you, or a standing light, any other light that you can find at home. And if you manage, try and avoid shadows. You want to be in the light completely and not have a shadow of a bookcase or something on you while you film. Artificial light, any light you can find at home will make your video look better than no light. And also, if you can, try and light your background a little bit. Just try and make it a nice, smooth light all around you. And you can do this ideally by having a few different sources of light on both sides of where you're standing. If you have only one side light coming, that will create some shadows behind you. So if possible, have lights that come from left and right from where you're standing so that your whole front is lit up nicely. This is an example of how you can put a light to get it balanced. So you'll see here we are the eye and we are next to a window, and to avoid having a shadow on the other side of our body, there's a light lighting up the other angle. So this is a bit technical, don't worry too much about it, but if you have the chance to really set up a good lighting, it will look very good in your pitch video. Don't put the light too close to your face or your body, because it will just be too bright and just be overexposed. So maybe, you know, do a test video and see how it looks. And if it's just too bright on one side, move the light away a little bit from your face. If you're filming with an iPhone, to make sure that it's focused on you when you stand in front of the camera, you can put something to a placeholder where you would be standing and fix the focus of the iPhone so it will be sharp and focusing on your face. Right, for the quality of the recording, if possible, again, use or record your video in high definition using the best quality camera that you have around. You can ask someone to help you so they can focus on you while you're speaking. If someone in your family has some free time, ask them to help, and they can probably easily tell you if you're standing in the middle of the frame, if you're focused properly, and that everything is fine before you start recording your video. When you have your video and you're ready to upload it, keep the recording clean. So we do not recommend that you add any graphics or logos to your pitch video. Don't insert your name, but just send us the video as it is, as you recorded it. Upload the video as it is and send us the link to that clean footage. We will then add some branding to the video. If you're one of our finalists, we will add a banner at the bottom with the name of your idea, your name, your institution, and also some logos around the sides, as you can see on screen right now. Right, last but not least, the audio quality, very important. Again, we need to hear your voice loud and clear. So make sure that there's no background noise when you're recording. Close your windows, don't have any music playing. Don't cover your microphone. Try and be quite close to the microphone so the microphone can pick up your sound properly, and just talk clearly, slowly, and enunciate your words really well so that there's a very good sound recording, even without an external microphone. You don't need that. So what happens if you're recording your pitch and a police car drives by with sirens? Well, if you can, record your pitch again so we don't have that background noise. Same thing if your dog or your cat or your parrot starts screaming and barking while you're recording, try and record it again. And if you're feeling a little overwhelmed and dizzy by this all, just take a break, have a coffee, and maybe come back and try later. Don't have any background music playing while you're recording, but also don't add any music to your video. We will add some music that is just our branded music, so please don't add any sound effects or any music when you upload the video and you send it. We also want to avoid any copyright issues, so please don't add anything, any sounds or anything to your video before sending it or uploading it. Right, so this is a quick recap just to let you know that all of these recommendations and tips that I've just given you are just for you to help you record a better quality pitch. So all of the things that will be judged in your pitch are mainly content related. So how clear is the problem and how well do you explain it in your pitch? Does your solution match the problem and do you explain that clearly? Is the target market defined and do you talk about it? How is your idea or project different? What is your revenue model and do you talk about it in your pitch? What are your team's skills and passions and how is the progress that you've done so far on your idea? These are the important things that the judges will assess in your pitch. What will not be judged is the graphics. If you, against recommendations, if you add anything, it will not add any value to your pitch in terms of judging. We will not penalize you for the background or lighting or whatever clothing you're wearing. These are just tips on how to shoot the most professional video, but you will be judged on the content of the video. Right, so these were all the tips I had on recording a professional video, and I hope they'll be useful and you can implement them nicely for your ideas pitches. And let's just have a quick recap about the next steps in our competition. So what we expect you to do now is to go away and in the next 5 weeks, prepare your application. This includes both the written application, which you will submit on a form, as well as the pitch video. To submit your application when you're ready, if you are the team leader in your team, or if you are applying on your own without the team, you need to submit one application on behalf of your team. So you will do that by visiting this form. The link is on the screen now, and you can also access it from the QR code. You will go on this page and submit one application on behalf of your team. If you're the team leader, only the team leader will submit on behalf of the team and give all the details of your idea. In addition, if you're a team, you will also list the other members in your team so that we know who is in your team as well. And if you are another team member, you will receive an email asking you to confirm that you're part of the team. So let's say I'm the team leader, I'm Sandra, so I fill in the application for my team and list Simon as one of my team members. I complete the application with all the idea details, I list Simon as one of my team members, I submit it. Simon will receive an email where he needs to confirm he's part of my team. If that is not complete, we cannot take the idea on board. So all the members need to confirm that they're part of the teams. This is very important. So keep an eye on your emails if you're a team member and make sure that you have confirmed that you're part of the team and the whole team can then enter the competition. Reminder that the deadline to submit your idea is the 7th of May. So by the 7th of May, midnight London time, everything needs to be submitted. Late entries will not be accepted. Okay, and now we have a couple of minutes for questions. If you have any questions about the pitch, the content, the delivery, how to film it, what to do with the video, this is the time you can ask the questions. Okay, I'm going to wait a couple of minutes just to see if there's any questions coming up. Okay, great. I have one question asking if we can add text or subtitles to our video. I would recommend you not to, because they will get covered with the banners that we need to add with the name. If you're a finalist and your video goes on our website, we will automatically add the subtitles by YouTube, sorry. So there's no need for you to add subtitles before that. Okay, one more question. I would like to know whether the size significance of the idea matters. So I guess you mean the size of the opportunity. Well, I guess it depends. It depends on your ambitions. If your ambition is to run a local business, and the size of the opportunity is, limited to your regional area, then that is completely fine. But if you would like to launch an idea that is very easily scalable and that wants to take on a much bigger target market, that is also fine. We just want you to identify the size of your opportunity realistically. So if you want to launch, say, a very innovative local bakery and tell us that the target market is half of the world's population, that doesn't really match up. It doesn't make sense. We want you to understand what the appropriate target market is for your idea. That's what's important. Okay, other questions. When we write our team members, we write only their names or add an email address. You will list your team members with name, surname, and email address. And that's very important. We do need that email address to send them their email to confirm they're part of the team. Okay. So make sure when you list the email addresses that you double check the spelling, that the email address is properly written, and it's the correct one. I can see a question saying, I can't hear some parts. Who sent us forum? I'm not sure what you mean, but you can, if you have some troubles hearing the session, you can watch the recording again, and hopefully it will be a bit clearer.
We'll send an email with entry details. I think it's the form, application form.
Right, okay. So we will also send you an email with the details of the application form and how to, well, the link to the application form, so you can access it whenever you need to, when you're ready with your application. Okay, any more questions? All right, I think we will finish the session here. Thank you very much for attending. I will share the recording, as always, of this session. And if you are in a team and your other team members have not been able to join us, make sure that they watch this session, as it is very, very important to prepare and record a very good pitch. So make sure that everyone in your team has seen it and knows what they need to do, how to record a good pitch, and the next steps to submit your idea before the 7th of May. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.